Hey guys, it's Jocelyn from Fantasia Elegance. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this hoop style of dangle earring. It's a very simple and classic design. It is a sort of takeoff on the traditional style of hoop earring in that the circles of the hoops face forward rather than sideways. But again, it's a very nice classic go with everything style of earring. Before we jump in, I have as always listed all the tools and materials I used in the description section below, including where I purchased the tools and materials, but I'll run through them very quickly right here. You will be needing 2 lengths for each earring. You'll be needing 2 lengths of either 18 or 20 gauge wire. So you're going to have one long piece that's going to be 3.5 inches, and the shorter piece will be 2.5 inches. And again, the lengths on these aren't set in stone. You can pretty much make these any size you want. The main thing to remember is that the longer piece needs to be about 30% longer than your shorter pieces. Again, you can use either 18 or 20 gauge wire. I will be using 18 gauge silver filled wire. As far as tools go, of course, you'll need your standard chain nose pliers, flush cutters, round nose pliers. You'll also want a round object of some sort that you can be shaping these circles around, such as a nail polish jar, or even better, a ring mandrel. And optionally, but recommended, would be a steel bench block and jeweler's hammer. And of course, you'll also want your choice of ear wires. I'm going to be using French hooks, and that'll be it on all the tools and materials you'll need. So as we get started here, I'm taking one of my shorter pieces of wire. Again, this is 2.5 inches. And what I'm going to do is just start wrapping this into a circle shape. On my ring mandrel, I'm going to be wrapping this around the 1.5 size ring. This is a US ring size, of course. And I'm just going to wrap that tightly around there, crossing the ends over each other, to make sure I get a nice round shape. And you want to have at least a 1/2 inch of wire tail on either side from where they cross over each other. So I might make this just a little bit smaller. There we are. And once you have your nice circular shape in place there, what you're going to do is bend one of these tails up. So from the center line where they cross, I'm going to grip right there and bend one of these tails straight up. And then for the other one, I'm going to position my pliers right where it meets the tail going up, right at the center line of the circle there. And I'm going to start wrapping this around the shank of the tail pointing up. So once you get to this point, you may need to use your pliers to continue closing that. Now you could wrap this twice around the shank here. For this design, I think I'm just going to do it once, since this is fairly thick wire. If you were using 20 gauge, you probably would want to continue wrapping this around twice. But for now, I'm just going to cross it over there, where it's wrapped around once, and I'm going to use flush cutters to trim that off right where it meets itself. Perhaps get a little bit closer here. And then use my chain nose pliers to close that up as much as I can. And you just want to check and make sure that you still have a nice round shape going on there, which we do. So to finish off the other tail, I'm going to bend this to the side. Just like so. And pulling out my round nose pliers, I'm going to start wrapping this, just finishing off with a loop. And I like to make sure that it's closed up nice and tight using my chain nose pliers. There we go. So we're going to do the exact same thing with our longer piece of wire. We're just going to use a slightly larger initial form. I'll be using the 8.5 size on the ring mandrel here. Just for reference, the 1.5 that I used for the smaller circle is about 1/2 of an inch diameter, and the 8.5 here is going to be about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Just in case you don't have a ring mandrel and are trying to find some round object around the house that you can use. And same as before on this, we want to make sure that our nice round shape continues all the way to where these two ends cross each other, and that you have about 1 centimeter of length with either tail so that you have enough distance to finish that off properly. So just so you can envision how these are going to be overlapping, just like that. So we're going to do the same thing. Taking it from the midline, I'm going to grip one of these tails, bend it straight up, and gripping the other tail at the same place, I'm going to wrap it around that first one. Going to trim off the extra right where it meets itself there, and make sure that it's closed up nice and tight using my chain nose pliers. And just checking that our round shape is still in place here. Okay. So then again, just like on the previous circle, I'm bending this tail off to the side. Just going to trim off the very tip here so it's nice and flush. And with round nose pliers, I'm once again going to shape this into a nice tight loop to finish off the end. There we are. Now this next step is optional but highly recommended. I'm going to hammer these out on a steel bench block. This will help them keep their shape nicely and make them look more finished. So I will do that in fast motion and mute it so you all don't get deafened. Okay, so here we are with both of these hammered out. Let me zoom back out here a little. And before we put these on our ear wire, one little tip to get these to hang nicely is to, so if we're viewing the front of the smaller circle here, I'm going to just take this loop and angle it back ever so slightly. And on the larger circle, I'm going to angle it forward ever so slightly. This will just help them to hang and dangle side by side in a pleasing fashion. So that's what it's going to look like. So go ahead and pull out your ear wires that you're going to use. I'll be using these French hook ear wires. And if you are unsure how to make your own, I have done a tutorial on these. You can access it in a new window by clicking right here if you're interested in that. And one little tip about these ear wires, you want it to have a fairly large loop for sliding things onto it. So I'm first going to slide on the smaller circle, and then the larger circle, and then go ahead and close that on up. And there you go. So as you can see, they dangle quite nicely, make a nice little sound bumping against each other there. So I hope this was a very straightforward and enjoyable tutorial for you. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more wire wrap jewelry tutorials. I do have many more in the works. And if you'd also like to take a few moments to check out my Etsy shop and Facebook page, the links are in the description section below. And of course, I do always love to hear comments from you on how you found this tutorial and whether or not you need any help getting through anything with it. So thanks for watching and happy crafting!